your mark.
On your mark.
Get set.
Get set.
Now ready.
Ready, go.
Provocative, engaging, and usually quite a lady.
Okay, they're asking for it.
Deborah, go.
Uh-oh, black men. You have done it now. Now, we're only talking about maybe 15% of black men who will be voting, but that's more than enough to draw the ire of Barack Obama. And I'm going to tell you right now, he is not going to take it. So you had best sit your black behind down and listen to what he has to say.
You just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for them. So now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting out, and you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that.
Let me pause it for just a moment because I have to point something out here. Barack Obama is extraordinarily manipulative. He is telling a bold-faced lie, but he says it with such conviction, and he has this look as though I'm bringing you facts. If you're too dishonest, if you're too stupid to realize what you are doing, let me point it out to you. You don't want to support her because she's a woman. Yet you're thinking about sitting this one out or supporting him when he has consistently denigrated you, when he has always put you down. He's just telling a straight up lie. And the thing about it is, he knows he's lying. But he thinks he's good enough that he can convince people who it's just so evident that he really feels he's so much smarter than they are. So I'll say whatever I think I need to say and they'll believe me. Don't believe him. Well, I know they don't believe him anyways. I already know this. So here's more of what he had to say.
And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. This shouldn't even be a question.
Okay, but this should be a question. What does any of that have to do with voting for Kamala Harris?
Uh-oh.
That little performance that Barack Obama put on, it reminded me of what we've heard before from Democrats when addressing black people. It's like when Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. It's kind of like when Hillary Clinton, when she was on the radio show with Charlemagne, when they asked her, what does she keep in her purse? She said, hot sauce. even they had the sense to say, well, people are going to think you're pandering to black people. It's just so crazy just how sloppy and paternalistic and disrespectful they are. Now, if we're talking about just 15% of the black male vote, and that's really about all we're talking about, that's way too much. How dare 15% of you not do what we have ordered you to do, what we have conditioned you to do, what we expect you to do? Whether or not we give you anything or not, whether or not we pay attention to what you're talking about, whether or not your schools are failing, you don't get jobs, blah, 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 doesn't matter. We told you what to do. So now I got to come down here, I got to talk to you, and I shouldn't have to waste my time doing this. You're causing a problem. Stop being a problem. Stop being so typical black man. You're always causing trouble. He was hot. Oh, he was hot. So my question is, will it work? Are you going to jump to it? You're a grown man. You're in a free country. You're a free man, free thinker, free to do what you want to do. I think. Well, Barry doesn't think so, but I think so. It's so crazy to me how your typical Democrat, they never lay out policy when speaking to a black audience. They just don't do it. It's a lot of speaking in a so-called black dialect. I feels no ways tired. Yeah, remember Hillary said that at a black church? I feels no ways tired. Huh? What? Or it's either some form of a warning that they're coming to get you. Joe Biden recently spoke, I believe it was at Howard University's graduation, and he talked about how the hateful, the white people are out to get you. He literally said that. I talked about that in a previous podcast, or in just a few years ago, how they're going to take away your voting rights, how they want to get you. I mean, it's always be afraid unless you vote for us. We can protect you. And if you don't, then you're going to die. You're going to go back to slavery. Joe Biden once said, they're going to put you back in chains. Where is the respect? Why can't you speak to adults as adults, not little children that you tell them a scary story before they go to bed and then they wake up, with night sweats? That's what they think of black people. They say the most ridiculously inane thing, and it's okay. And then you get your black ministers and your black leaders echoing exactly what these politicians say. That makes no sense. The part that is most frustrating is that it works. It works. I can tell you for a fact, I know so many people who routinely talk about if Donald Trump gets in, we're doomed. How the hell are you doomed? I never understand that. You're doomed how? We've got to get Kamala in. It's a black job to get Kamala in. More like it won't be a black job if she gets in. Thankfully, at least looking online, there are so many black men who are very offended by this, as they well should be. They really should be. Lots of men are not supporting Kamala Harris. That's what the whole campaign has been talking about. She has an issue, a man problem, a male voting problem. Yet, the hammer has to come down on black men. The comfortable role, the easy path to take is, let me jump down here and get up in their faces. Let me get up in here and tell them what to do. The audacity. Ugh. Now, let me share with you a little bit of brutal irony. Here's the irony. This is probably one of the only windows that blacks actually have to exert some political leverage. This 15% of black voters, these black men, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, they have really created an opportunity for blacks to actually have political leverage. The Democrats don't want blacks to know that. The Republicans, it doesn't matter to them, because if they don't vote for Harris, even if they don't vote for Trump, advantage Trump. But the real point I'm making here is that whenever a group, any group, give their all to one particular group, that group will certainly take them for granted. That's exactly what has happened to blacks since the 1960s, easily. However, if you look at every other group, there's some sort of balance, particularly amongst Hispanics. Smart, smart, smart. But Barack Obama, more than just wanting these black men to support Kamala and not be misogynists, what he's really showing is that he has to get up and he has to speak out, because he carries a lot of weight for his ability to influence blacks. So this also speaks to who he is in terms of his authority over the black voting public. Make no mistake about it. That's part of the calculus here. Because you have to remember, he did not pull this off for Hillary Clinton. He was out there. He was the number one spokesperson besides Hillary herself, the surrogate, as they call it. And blacks failed to deliver fully for Hillary Clinton. That speaks a lot about Barack Obama. And they cannot, and he, most importantly, cannot have this happen again. So when it's all said and done, what we are really witnessing is an all-out effort. And I say all out because when Barack Obama has to come down from on high to talk to a relatively small group of people, that means that this is a real threatening situation. What we're talking about is the potential for a loss of control. Now, granted, still, the majority of blacks will be voting for Kamala Harris. Let's not kid ourselves here. However, in an extremely tight race as this one is, if you're talking somewhere in the area of about 20, maybe even 23% of blacks not supporting the Democrat, that's a problem. So if you've got about 15% of black men, you're still talking somewhere in the area of about maybe 8% of black women. So, you could say, this is ridiculous. Why is everybody so up in arms about such small numbers? These are big numbers. These really are big numbers. And what it points to, and here's the crux of it all, it's really representative of a possible threat to the control that the Democrats have had and continue to have over black voters. This is the last thing they want. It's one of the absolute last things they want. So if we're talking about this nice chunk of black men saying we're just not going to do it, that's a threat. That's a real threat. And nobody's really talking about it, but you're still looking at maybe about 8, if not more, 8% of black women saying we're not doing it. These are independent thinkers. People who have said, for me and myself, my family, I'm not going with her. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is wrong if you're under the thumb of the Democrats because they feel you belong to us. You're ours. And that's a problem.
This shouldn't even be a question.
Who the hell do you think you are?